speed of the falls. None of us would think that the government would ever do or be complacent in such a thing. None of us, but all of us were so amazed at such a sudden drop of such powerful and massive structures designed for one thing, and that's to resist the force of gravity. Yet it's gravity that supposedly caused this collapse. Well, I still didn't believe my government would ever do such a thing. And I was not aware of World Trade Center 7 until a couple of years after the collapse. I got an email from another engineer. Look at this. Did you know about this one? No. I was ignorant for a long time with 9/11. And I was told by PhD structural engineers right when it happened that there was something wrong. It took me a while to wise up. It takes everyone a while to wise up sometimes. But now that some of us are getting wiser, let's open this up. WTC-7 is a small structure compared to the Twin Towers, World Trade Center 1 and 2. Yet it would be a very large structure in most cities, even Dallas. 610 feet standing building. Not hit by an airplane. Now there was a lot of theories on why it fell. Official 9/11 story trademark theories. Many conflicting stories. It was situated well north of the North Tower, 110 yards from the North Tower. It was hit by debris from the North Tower and collapsed 7 hours. After the collapses. Now we know about the fires in the buildings because there's plenty of photographic evidence of fires throughout the day. In doing, I suppose, shadow analysis, we can pinpoint the times in which these fires occurred. And we can also, after the fact, do reverse analysis. And using a topic that I'm going to bring up towards the end of this presentation, using finite element analysis, using classical equations, we can determine and we can predict how much energy will be imparted from fires through fireproofing to the members that the fireproofing is applied to, and how much thermally these members will expand. And then I want to get to the key principal element of what the NIST report from 2008 is telling me and you, and that is enough fire caused large floor beams to detach from columns, tearing away from the columns, and somehow columns became free for many floors, and that caused a cascading sequence in which the building fell at near free fall speed, giving no resistance over 7 or 8 floors from from 7 WTC floor 7 to 14, no resistance in 2.25 seconds, a virtual free fall speed. So floors happened on buildings, WTC 7, floor 7, 8, 12, 13. This is 4:45 in the afternoon. And you can see the fires coming out the window. Now, the architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, submitted by Chris Sarnes, modeled the fires on floor 12. That's consistent with photographs. Now, modeling fires can be done in a different amount of ways. The technology that is available to us that I want to see utilized by engineers, architects, and other people that are interested, curious, and motivated to get to the bottom of this is finite element analysis. There are many different software programs that have this ability to determine how much heat can get transferred from office fires, which are burning what? Carpet, computers, coffee cups, books, papers. And then they have to move on. When they're done, you need a fuel source and you need oxygen, which is available in the air. So you see there is a progression here. It moves around, moves around, moves around. The fire has to move. But at the bottom line of my presentation, I want to get to that column on 79. Was there enough to heat up those structural members that were fireproofed to rip those floor beams away from the columns and make a column stand free all by itself, unsupported, and make, therefore, an entire building collapse at near free fall speed. Now, at different times here, we see a fire growing, developing, and it has to. Fires are organic. They have to move on. Fires have to find new fuel to consume. A fire can't be stagnant and steady in one place unless more and more fuel is provided to the fire. So what is finite element method analysis? Some people call it FEM, some people call it FEA. Why is it important in regards to 9/11? Well, because it can substantiate what they're telling us. It can prove or disprove these reports they keep releasing to us. The stories change. Whatever they want to say, I'm sure is going to corroborate Osama bin Laden from a cave with 19 hijackers did all this damage. Well, I want the public to do their own, to have the evidence presented to them that shows, yes, that's true, or no, that's not true. And obviously, to this point, we haven't had an investigation, not a real investigation. So, let's look at the overall design idea of World Trade Center 7. And I pulled this out of New York Times, Sunday, February 19th from 1989, in which Larry Silverstein was saying it was a strong building. It was overbuilt. It was built with the intention of opening up floors later on for tenants who wanted to open up floors and have double space floors. But despite all that, we put in 375 more tons of steel. That required 12 miles of welding to reinforce some of these tenants' demands of opening up floors. So he's saying the building was over-designed in the first place. But to satisfy our tenants' needs, we over-designed it and overbuilt it even more 3 to 4 years after the fact, after the building was built. And I believe it was completed in 1987, and it was upgraded in 1990. But then the 2008 NIST report. Because of differences between their structural design and their being these three other structures, and that of WTC-7, these three buildings did not collapse because of differences between structural design. That's saying that this building is of an insufficient or marginal design. But the building owner said it was a strong design, and despite of that, they made it even stronger anyway. So yet we have another contradiction. Page 48 of the NIST report from 2008, this was the first known instance where fire-induced local damage led to the collapse of an entire tall building. Also from 48, even without the initial structural damage caused by the debris impact from the collapse, WTC-1, Building 7 would have collapsed from the fires having the same characteristics as those experienced on 9/11-01. They're giving you nonsense in their report, and this is the official story that you're supposed to swallow. And then earlier on, we heard from debunking websites and so on and so forth that diesel fires provided enough fuel to melt those structural elements or expand the structural elements to the point that they would break away from their column connections. Now, these are connections that I design, inspect, and this is my living and the living of some others in this room. And I want to tell you, this is an unlikely event. This is an extremely unlikely event. Do we American citizens have probable cause to demand a real 9/11 investigation? Well, we know our government's not going to do it, so ultimately that's going to come upon us, including peer-reviewed FEA, among others, and forensic studies, or scaled-down models. Or must we accept what hand-picked paid experts opine? I won't read all of this, but this is a statement by a physicist who put forward a lot of physical evidence, 9/11, WTC-7. Now imagine if you're a police officer and your job's to enforce the law, and you put your blue and reds on somebody and you approach the car, and you see a bloody knife laying in the passenger seat. You hear moaning and groaning coming from the trunk and someone barely able to talk saying, "Help, help, help." Now you're going to pull out your duty weapon and you're going to put it on that person behind the wheel, and you're going to tell them to get out and get on the ground and keep your hands where you can see them. Well, you're not.